And we're live. Amazing. So, good morning, everybody that is watching. Thank you for tuning in for everything so far and Learning at Work Week and beyond. If you're watching this on demand as well, really, really glad that you're sticking around and seeing some of the fantastic things that are here to stay. It's not something that's just for this week, as you all know. So, today I've got the lovely job of having a sit down conversation with our fantastic head of retail, Mel Orcott. She's going to take us through her learning journey at work, what learning at work means to her, and also give us a little bit of a sneak peek of what learning means. Good morning, Mel.
Morning.
How are
How
you
are you?
feeling?
Yeah, good. Very,
Good.
very good.
Uh,
Excited to be part of this.
Thank you for being a part. I know you've got such a busy schedule, so thank you for taking the time to sit down and chat to us. Really excited to hear what you've got to say. So we'll get started straight away. I'll ask a few questions throughout, but please elaborate, give loads of examples, because the more we sort of get to know and the more we can role model people encouraging the learning at work, the better. So first question is, what does learning at work mean to you?
Learning at work, what does it mean to me? I think every day is a learning day. Um, and I think sometimes people perceive learning as you've got to be in a classroom or you've got to be
Mm,
studying a textbook or, you've got to be sitting down writing things on a course. But for me, sometimes learning is just doing something new, pushing yourself out your comfort zone and doing something completely different. And I think if you actually stood back and thought about it, you'd always be learning something new every single day without even realizing.
Definitely. I'm so glad you've said that because one thing that we've really wanted to try and get across throughout the week is debunk that myth that to learn, you've got to be sat down, you've got to be in a stationary environment, when in reality, a lot of learning is very much like you say, we make thousands of decisions on a daily basis. Our retail managers, particularly, are going through tens of thousands of decisions, I'm sure they're making every day. And each of those is about an opportunity for them to learn and take something away from it. So, fantastic example. Just following on from that, would you say your experience of learning at work has changed throughout your career, or do you think you've always had the same approach?
I think it's definitely changed. I mean, if I think back to when I first came into retail, I started in another fashion brand, Topshop, as a Christmas temp. And I've got to where I am now just by working through retail. I didn't go to university, but I did do an MVQ in retail management, and that was as I left school. It was a program that Arcadia used to run for school leavers. And the thing I loved about that, it was really, really hands on.
Mm,
So I'd be working in a store, but I was also doing my MVQ on the side, and I had to do a whole store design project. And I learned so much. I had to design my own store from start to finish and looking at all the operations side, the layout. So it incorporated everything that you needed to know about running a store within this one project to be signed off. So to me, that's how it started. And I've always been very much a hands on learner.
definitely. No, I think it's a really, really great example because I think people looking at the education system the way that it is now, I don't think we create enough opportunities for young people to try something different than be channeled down there.
No.
You've got to go to sixth form, you've got to go to university or college, whatever it is. And I think businesses have now got quite a big duty of care to be able to provide that career progression and opportunity for young people to be able to carve their career, which is great news that we've got a new apprenticeship manager starting in the next couple of months. If you're
I know,
watching this
it's
in the
so
future,
excited for that.
she
So
might be here
excited.
already. So definitely it's something that's really important. And very much like you say, creating those opportunities for people to be able to learn on the job is invaluable because that embedding piece is normally the hardest part we learn in, isn't it? So
Absolutely.
exactly, if you can juggle those two, it's amazing. Great, thank you so much. So next question is then give us an overview of your role currently and your career journey that you've been through both on and off the island and how learning's helped you to navigate to where you are now.
So I am head of retail for River Island. As I said, I've been in the retail industry for many, many, many years. I spent 23 years at Topshop, and because of my development, that was one of the reasons why I did stay with Topshop for so long. They were an incredible company from investing in their people. And when I say investing, I don't just mean putting us on courses, but it was a great opportunity that there was so much career progression. And, I've been in a fortunate place in my life where I've been able to grab those opportunities and really drive my development. So, as I said previously, I started as a Christmas temp. I think I worked in every Topshop within the Midlands, in every different role that there was. I was a team leader, I was a deputy manager, I was a store leader, I did operations management, I did brand managers. The only role I didn't do was VM, but that actually came, obviously, we did a lot of VM anyway as brand managers, so it was kind of the same. I've been commercial managers. Um, and then I got the opportunity to go international. So I jumped at the chance and did international. So that was great because, again, learning about different cultures. I was out in Hong Kong. So it was about how I could adapt my what I'd learned already, but the Hong Kong ways of working and their culture. And then one of my biggest learns was obviously, having to make people redundant and Topshop going into administration. And believe it or not, I actually learned so much about the business. Then when that we were obviously going through that process, and then I was over the moon to then join River Island, and I joined as a territory leader. And I did that for 3 years, and now I've just started as head of retail. And the biggest thing that's helped me on my journey is feedback. Many years ago, I would be scared to feedback. I'd always dread an appraisal, dread a review. But now I really see feedback as a gift. And, I really do. I think, you can always learn from getting feedback and asking for feedback. And that's what makes me successful in my role.
Oh, amazing. What a career journey as well. And I think it's great to hear that you've seen that sort of end-to-end experience in retail as well as so many of our islanders have, starting out as Christmas temp all the way through to building a fantastic career. It's great to hear sort of the variety that you've had that comes with that. Because a lot of people, especially because a lot of this sort of podcast will go externally as well on LinkedIn, people tend to think that career progression in retail is just team leader, assistant manager, manager, and then that's it. When you've role modeled there and the variety of different things and opportunities we have here, really does mean that you can steer your career in whichever direction you want it to go to. So amazing. Thank you for sharing. You've alluded to it a little bit there around the feedback point, but I'll ask you the question anyway, just in case there is anything in addition you want to add. So what would you say in your career has been a standout learning point? So it can be one moment, it can be one experience, it can be one story of when you went to a farm, because I know that's your favorite one.
I'm not going to use the farm one actually, Tom, but I did love being at the farm, learning all about leadership, and that really was a standout, point for me, because one thing you realise is you don't actually realise you're learning doing the tasks that you're doing until the end. You're like, oh my God, how did that person feel? How did I feel? And then you realise what you need to become a big leader. But my standout point was, I think when I transitioned from a general manager to area manager, I knew I wanted to be an area manager within Topshop. And it was quite hard internally. That was, what Topshop was known for. It's quite hard to make that step from general manager to area manager. And I thought, I'm going to succeed at this. I'm not going to, let this get the better of me. So what I did was I drove my own PDP, and we had this training scheme that was very much design your own. So I used to plan to cover all the other area managers' holidays, and I really did my own personal development plan, where I was thinking I was getting feedback and I was covering their roles. So we used to call it a try it on for size, where you go out and you try that role, and and every time I covered someone's holiday, I'd get feedback. I was able to better myself, which then I was successful at getting that area manager role. So for me, it was about really driving my own learning, and I had an end goal and looking at how I could get there.
Amazing. Because I think one thing that is a big misconception around learning at work is exactly what you've said there. It's your career, you're in the driving seat. Us as a function, we're just here to signpost you to where you can sort of find the right things,
Yeah,
or maybe set up the odd initiative to support that. But I think the invaluable part there for me is that quality of conversation that you'll have had with some of the hiring managers to be able to really drill down to what are the nitty-gritty parts of the role. And I think one thing that sounds great about the Try It On for Size initiative is that it gives you a full view of what that role's like. Because I think a lot of the time we look at a role that somebody's doing and we only tend to see the best parts of it and think, oh, I'd love to do that. That sounds like so much fun. But really experiencing gives that sort of immersive feeling experience where you see all of it, don't you? So it gives an opportunity to see the
absolutely.
good, the bad, and the ugly.
And I think when you go into that role, then you know what your development areas are going to be. You also know what you're going to be, great at. So you can really focus on, ensuring you're successful then in the role. And I suppose that's a
Definitely.
bit like what I'm doing now, constantly receiving feedback, jumped into this head of retail role, and every day's a learning day for me. And I think it's great, and I'm really excited to be part of that and to excel in my career even further by getting feedback from different people that I've never worked with, and and really being the driving force behind retail.
Oh, amazing. Well, it sounds like we're in great hands, so that's really exciting. What would you say your biggest learning curve was then? So if that were your standout moment, stepping from general manager, moving out into a field-based role in the area, what would you say you either learned the hard way or is something that stuck out to you as I've really remembered that as maybe doing something wrong and you've learned from that mistake, or even just experiencing something you'd not experienced before?
I think don't take feedback too personally is the biggest thing that I've learned. And I used to, oh my God, I used to be awful. Like I used to really take it personally, really take it to heart. And I think, and sometimes it's still like really hard, isn't it? When you receive feedback. But that's probably was the biggest turning point for me of it's okay, to be told that could have perhaps thought about it like this, because that's the way that makes it better. And learning to stand back and pause and actually
Mm.
realize. And in this role, I think someone said to me once when I went into a role as general manager, was Rome wasn't built in a day, and you're not going to be able to turn this store around overnight. And and I think for retail, that's the same. As I've got into this role, Richard's always said to me, pause, take a minute to pause, and he's absolutely right. I
Mm.
know I am a million miles an hour. We all laugh about it. I know I am. And I think, the biggest thing for me is sometimes just to stop back, pause, reevaluate, and then move on.
Definitely. And I think that's a really important message for all parts of the business because working for a retailer, it attracts a very fast paced sort of person. And you've got to love a bit of chaos if you love working in retail, which I'm sure we all do. So that moment of reflection, pausing, taking some time to digest and really decide the best course of action is a great, great learning point for people to take away. Thank you. So, what advice would you give to our islanders to commit moving forward, making sure that they prioritise their learning at work?
I think sometimes get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And
Mm,
someone said that to me once, and I thought, you know what, you're absolutely right. And sometimes if you think, oh God, every day feels the same, and that's because I know I'm in my comfort zone, and I know I've not challenged myself, I've not tried anything different, and it's really easy to get stuck into that place of just being
mm.
really comfortable doing the day to day. And sometimes it is easy, but then that's when you start to get itchy feet, you start to get a little bit bored. And you've got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, because I think they're the times that you're really learning, and that's the time that you'll really, really strive and exceed at what it is you do. And you've got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
I think that's a great bit of advice because I think, especially in a business like River Island, where we've got such fantastic length of service, it's so easy to think, well, to almost go on autopilot, and we're all guilty of it. We all have days where we don't give 100%, but sometimes if you're only giving 80%, but that's all you can give in that day, that's still a great thing. But creating pockets of opportunity for people to try new things, be in the courage zone, and do something a little bit different is really important. So, no, great advice, 100%.
I think get
Um,
involved, get involved. Some people say, oh, we're asked to do that. Get involved. If you want to learn something, ask. And, there's always someone out there that will willing to give you, a chance, and don't be scared to fail.
Definitely. And I think my biggest learning curve coming here, just to stick my oar in, is that it's
Love
very
it.
much a relationships focused business. And
Yeah.
it's not, it really is who you know, not what you know here. And I think it's such a powerful thing to be able to ask questions, be curious. And if you want to know more about a different business area, ask. There's a million and one different projects going on at any one time. And there's always going to be somebody that can allow you to get involved in one of those projects if you are ready to try something new. And we're all driving towards that same sort of goal, aren't we? Of creating a great
We are.
experience for our customer. So regardless of whether that's head office, retail, field-based teams, whatever that is, we're all here to do that. So as long as we're adding value, that's the important thing. Amazing. Final question then. So now that you're in a senior leadership role and you've been newly appointed in your senior leadership role, which is fantastic, how are you continuing your learning journey so that you can continue to be your best at work?
Oh wow, I feel like I'm learning more than ever at the minute. I
Mm.
think I'd probably got into a bit of a place where, as territory leader, was I pushing myself to learn, new things. And I think every day for me, within this senior leadership role, I'm building new networks, building new relationships. And for me, it is really listening to the feedback, learning how I need to adapt, my style within that senior leadership role, and looking at different ways, that I can operate as a leader, in my new role.
No, I think it's great advice, 100%. And is there anything that you're planning to do over the next month that you've thought, I'd love to do that, I'd love to give something a go? What have you got your eye on in terms of your learning at work?
Hmm,
Tough
good.
question. We'll
That
end
is
on
a
a hard
tough
one.
question. Yeah. I don't know what I'm going to answer for that, Tom. You'll have to crop that bit out. What do I want to do? What was the question again? Forgot
Where
it
just
now.
what do you want to do in terms of your learning at work?
What do I want to do? For me, I want to not only continue learning myself, but ensure as a retail team that we have got a real good learning program out there for everybody so that everybody gets real clear feedback, really good reviews, and that everyone can join us on this learning journey.
Excellent answer. So definitely some exciting things to come. If you're in retail and head office, to be fair, watch this space because all of those things that we're talking about now are in the pipeline. It's just a case of getting them launched and in the air and something that's comfortable. Amazing. So thank you so much, Mel. Really, really great to catch up with you. One thing that we've really tried to sort of push this week is that it's on the emphasis of the individual to drive their learning and also to encourage people to have great quality conversations. And I feel like that's what we've had here. So even just sitting down and having a coffee with somebody and wanting to learn a little bit more about their role and their world is an opportunity to learn. So I've took loads from this. Thank you so much. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what everybody thinks.
You're
So if you're
welcome.
watching this live, share it, give everybody an example, tag people, get involved, and make sure you get involved with some of the other fantastic things we've got going on this week for Learning at Work Week.
You're welcome. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.